Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Cosmic News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, Yellowstone supervolcano. With all the talk swirling around the net of an imminent eruption, how would an eruption really affect America and the world? And is Ebola virus out of control? And the dark star Planet X, the evidence. Okay, into this week's news. This first report delves into the serious situation at Yellowstone, with all the talk swirling around the internet that Yellowstone supervolcano is about to erupt and that monitoring stations have been deactivated. So how bad would a Yellowstone supervolcano eruption be? This report originates from modernsurvivalblog.com. This report was posted on April the 2nd, 2014 by Ken Jagustin. Mount St. Helens was tiny compared to the most dangerous category of volcano, the supervolcano. The Yellowstone supervolcano is located in Yellowstone National Park of Wyoming. Try to imagine a volcano eruption 10,000 times stronger than Mount St. Helens, an eruption that would threaten our very survival. The image above illustrates the size of the Yellowstone supervolcano magma chamber, superimposed in 3D beneath the state outlines of Wyoming and Idaho. Notice the relative size compared with the green outline of Yellowstone National Park and the red outline of the caldera inside. It's huge. The possible supervolcano effects. Magma ash ejected debris would be hurled 30 miles up into the atmosphere, near devastation of an area the size of North America or Europe. Devastation resulting in economic collapse. Volcanic ash would cover the devastated area to the depths ranging from hundreds of feet within proximity to as much as 6 inches thousands of miles away. Anything within 500 miles of the eruption would be completely destroyed. Ash would circle the globe on upper-level winds, blotting sunlight for months, followed by a dim and cold volcanic winter lasting for several years. Global temperature would drop perhaps as much as 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Mini ice age. 75% of all plant species would die off. World agriculture would be devastated. Mass starvation. Human survival and civilization as we know it would be threatened. This following report asks the question, is Ebola virus out of control? With reports coming in daily of more victims of this terrible virus from Africa to the US, can it be contained? This worrying report originates from afro.who.int and posted by the World Health Organization Africa Region Office, titled Ebola virus disease, West Africa situation as of the 14th of April 2014. Guinea. As of the 14th of April, the Ministry of Health of Guinea has reported a culminating total of 168 clinically compatible cases of Ebola virus disease, EVD, including 108 deaths. The detailed situation report is available as at the 11th of April, describing 159 clinically compatible cases of Ebola virus disease, EVD, including 106 deaths. Laboratory investigations continue at the Institut Pasteur IP Dakar Laboratory in Conakry. 66 samples tested, of which 39 were positive positive by the PCR for Ebola virus, and at the European Union Mobile Laboratory MLab team in Guangzhou, 55 samples tested, 36 positive. A total of 71 clinical cases have been laboratory confirmed, 45%, while 34 of the remaining clinical cases are classified as probable cases and 54 as suspected cases. 42 of the 106 deaths, 40%, have been laboratory confirmed. Some cases have had repeat testings carried out. 6 districts of Guinea have reported patients. Conakry, 31 patients, 22 laboratory confirmed. Guangzhou, 95 cases, 35 confirmed. Macenta, 21 cases, 12 confirmed. Kistug, 6 cases, 1 confirmed. Dablo, 5 cases, 1 confirmed. And Dijing Ayar, 1 suspected case. The date of onset of the most recently identified suspected clinical cases in Conakry and Guangzhou was 10th of April. 1 additional healthcare worker, HCW, has been reported, bringing the total to 16. 11 laboratory confirmed and 5 probable cases. 11 patients were still hospitalized on the 10th of April, while 37 had been discharged from care. A total 941 contacts have been identified since the beginning of the outbreak. Medical observation is continuing for 396 contacts, while 545 have been discharged from follow-up. This following report originates from bibliothecappliedis.net, titled The Dark Star, the Planet X Evidence by Andy Lloyd. Commentary by Rob Solarian Ambridge from Darkstar website. During the preparations of Osiris, Isis and Planet X, I had the good fortune and opportunity to read a new book titled Dark Star, the Planet X Evidence by Andy Lloyd. Andy and I have been acquainted over the internet for several years, and both of us were interviewed by Hollywood film producer Robert Sepper for the second of his Planet X videos. Andy and I have agreed to disagree on certain matters pertaining to Planet X for reasons which will become apparent in this review of his book. Andy presents his arguments in a logical and efficient manner, starting with the simpler anomalies of our solar system and then gradually working into more complex discussions of dwarf stars in general and Planet X in particular. By chapter 12, Andy has actually overly complicated his theory, in my opinion, but he has certainly covered all the bases, to use an American baseball metaphor. For a couple of hundred pages, Andy speculates and theorizes about one aspect of Planet X or another, and I think that he would agree with me that we are basically at a dead end in terms of purely theoretical analysis. What we need now is actual physical proof of Planet X, either its telescopic discovery or its sudden passage through the mainstream solar system. In reviewing Andy's book, I shall do it in the order that Andy presented his material. Most researchers of Planet X Nibiru, myself included, tend to follow the postulation by Zacharias Sitchin in the Earth Chronicles, notably the 12 planets, that this 10th or unknown planet is approximately the size of Uranus and Neptune, or about 4 to 5 times larger than the planet Earth, and therefore that it is merely an as yet undiscovered planet within our solar system. Andy, by contrast, equates Planet X with a brown dwarf star, a distant unseen binary companion of our Sun, several times larger than the planet Jupiter, with a planetary system of its own. Whereas I suggest that Planet X is accompanied by an entourage or host of planetoids and moonlets. In Andy's scenario, these bodies, 7 in all, orbit the dark star. The innermost planet of the dark star, the warmest and most hospitable for life, is the home planet of the Anunnaki. The planet furthest from the dark star is what becomes visible to peoples on Earth during the perihelion passage of the dark star system, leading in turn to all of our ancient myths about this perturber or interloper planet. Andy's dark star itself does not actually enter the boundaries of the other planets. However, its seventh moon, Sitchkin's Nibiru, or planet of the crossing, does cross over into that part of the solar system between Neptune and Pluto, close enough and bright enough to be visible to people on Earth, at least for such a sufficiently lengthy time that cosmic legends could be born and later developed around it. In cosmic tree theory, of course, Planet X Nibiru is coming as close to the Earth as about 60,000 miles, about 100,000 kilometers, and then stationing itself to our North Pole by an electromagnetic tether beam. As it approaches close enough to Earth, its south magnetic pole is attracted to our north magnetic pole, like the opposite poles of all magnets, locking it in place above our North Pole for 900 years, approximately a millennium of the gods, after which time it detethers and returns in its orbit to a perihelion somewhere between here and the Oort cloud. On page 48, Andy writes the following about Sitchkin's Nibiru. The passages of Planet X also present us with evidence that Nibiru Marduk appeared to the Mesopotamians as a red star during historical times, and that its heavenly passage was unusual. It was faint, red, stood still in the sky, and then wandered like a planet. This is highly unusual, to say the least. It is no wonder that the nature of Nibiru remains controversial. When I refer to Planet X Nibiru standing still over our North Pole, I use the expression literally. It stopped and stood still, tethered to the Earth as a winged disc atop a cosmic tree, or world tree, or sacred tree. Andy and Sitchkin's idea that Nibiru stood still refers to that optical illusion we get when any planet seems to stop and go backwards in its orbit, which we refer to as its retrograde movement. Neither Andy nor Sitchkin would agree with me on the meaning of the concept that it stood still in the sky. As an aside here, let me add that amongst the Velikovskian school, there is a group of researchers, most prominently amongst them David Talbot and colleagues, who believe, as Dr. Emanuel Velikovsky suggested on Saturn and the Flood, published by Cronus Journal, Volume V, Number 1, in the fall of 1979, that the object which stood still over our North Pole was the planet Saturn. In 1996, David Talbot produced a video regarding this idea titled Remembering the End of the World. Remembering the End of the World, some of Talbot's animated computer graphics at the end of the video are quite well done, but still absolutely preposterous. Saturn theory does not depict the planet Saturn. It depicts the planet X Nibiru standing above our North Pole as the cosmic tree, but planet X, notwithstanding the flaw in Talbot's video, is obvious. Dr. Velikovsky explicitly stated in his Cronus article that this hypothetical Saturn theory preceded the so-called birth of Venus that he described in Worlds in Collision. Yet for Talbot's scenario to work, it includes a planet Venus revolving around Saturn, and thus intrinsically contradicts Dr. Velikovsky's original idea. David Talbot's video can be obtained from Chronia Group. On page 53, Andy writes the following, and I certainly agree with him. His thoughts are worth repeating here. The idea that there is a massive undiscovered planetary body orbiting the Sun is almost 100 years old now. It is certainly not a new idea, but is one whose popularity has fluctuated down the years. At the moment, it is a possibility that is regaining certain amount of scientific credibility, an idea perhaps whose time has arrived. Our science and technology seems seems to progress at an accelerating rate, and this tends to make us all a little complacent about what remains to be discovered. It seems common sense that any scientific endeavour lasting 100 years would have certainly reached a conclusion by now. As the means to discover the answer has improved, yet many of the most important scientific questions remain unanswered. A cure for cancer, a renewable energy source, a unified field theory in physics, to name but a few. These problems remind us that our knowledge of the cosmos, the earth, and ourselves is far from complete, and that science has much to learn. And so it is with our knowledge of the solar system. Because we are looking further and farther into space with larger and more technologically refined telescopes, we have a tendency to assume that everything in between has been discovered, catalogued, and understood. This is far from the truth in reality. On page 57, Andy remarks, the late Carl Sagan, a popular and brilliant scientist from Cornell University in New York, RS, described the potential for a dark sister companion orbiting the Sun back in 1985. Sagan acknowledged the speculation surrounding a proposed nemesis star orbiting the Sun at a great distance. He even proposed a fictional scenario where ancient peoples mythologized this Death Star as the Sun's dark sister. The Death Star presumably takes its name from the equally fictitious moon-like battle station of George Lucas's Star Wars trilogy, could periodically bombard the solar system with comets when its elliptical orbit caused it to brush through the comet clouds. This, in turn, could create a periodic extinction cycle. For the record, there is an original quote from Carl Sagan regarding this demon sun. There is another sun in the sky, a demon sun that we cannot see. Long ago, even before great-grandmother's time, the demon sun attacked our sun. Comets fell and a terrible winter overtook the earth. Almost all life was destroyed. The demon sun has attacked many times before, and it will attack again. To view the full transcript, click on the link to my website near the end of this video. Okay, my friends, you're all invited to join this channel by subscribing to End Times 23, which is a totally free subscription service. You're also invited to add me as a friend on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. Both the links are under this video. Or if you'd like to join one of my circles on Google+, the link is near the end of the video. I've now got a direct link also to my website and all the links for this week's video. You'll be able to find that link near the end of this video. Well, that's your lot for this week, my friends. I do hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll be back with you in a week's time with another edition of Informer News. So until then, this is your Informer signing off, friends. I'll see you on the flip side. Blotting sunlight for months, followed by a dim and cold volcanic winter lasting for several years. Global temperature would drop perhaps as much as 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Mini ice age. 75% of all plant species would die off. World agriculture would be devastated. Mass starvation. Human survival and civilization as we know it would be threatened. This following report asks the question, is Ebola virus out of control? With reports coming in daily of more victims of this terrible virus from America and the world. And is Ebola virus out of control? And the dark star Planet X, the evidence. Okay, into this week's news. This first report delves into the serious situation at Yellowstone, with all the talk swirling around the internet that Yellowstone supervolcano is about to erupt and that monitoring stations have been deactivated. So how bad would a Yellowstone supervolcano eruption be? This report originates from modernsurvivalblog.com. This report was posted on April 2nd, 2014 by National Park and the red outline of the cauldron inside. It's huge. The possible supervolcano effects. Magma ash ejected debris would be hurled 30 miles up into the atmosphere, near devastation of an area the size of North America or Europe. Devastation resulting in economic collapse. Volcanic ash would cover the devastated area to the depths ranging from hundreds of feet within proximity to as much as 6 inches thousands of miles away. Anything within 500 miles of the eruption would be completely destroyed. Ash would circle the globe on upper level winds. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Cosmic News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, Yellowstone supervolcano. With all the talk swirling around the net of an imminent eruption, how would an eruption really offend Augustine? Mount St. Helens was tiny compared to the most dangerous category of volcano, the supervolcano. The Yellowstone supervolcano is located in Yellowstone National Park of Wyoming. Try to imagine a volcano eruption 10,000 times stronger than Mount St. Helens, an eruption that would threaten our very survival. The image above illustrates the size of the Yellowstone supervolcano magma chamber, superimposed in 3D beneath the state outlines of Wyoming and Idaho. Notice the relative size compared with the green outline of Yellowstone